Hello and welcome to Bergkamp Wonderland. This is an Arsenal podcast and I am not Gunnar Gimli, but I do have a tooth missing, so you'll excuse my part-time speech impediment. With me tonight I have Karl. Say hello, Karl.
Hello, Karl.
You did that to Jason and Jason cracked up. Lovely jubbly. And we have Josh, who I may occasionally call Ross. How are you doing, Josh Ross?
I'm doing very well, thank you. How are you?
Have you done any podcasts recently that were a complete and utter waste of time, not due to me?
Not due to you. No, I haven't done any of those.
Have you done any that were a failure due to me?
Yes, very much so.
Oh, sorry. And finally, we have Mr. Quiff. It's the Spidey Man. It's Simon. All right, Simon?
I'm good, Danny. How are you, mate?
I'm always good. I forgot to ask Karl how he was. Are you all right, Karl?
Racist. I've
got
to take him from Raj. So everything you do now, you're racist.
Oh, dear. It's a terrible world we live in of injustice.
I know.
Yes, so I am very good. Right, there you go. We've got the beginning bits over and done with in a matter of seconds. Mr. Gunnar Gimli can't be with us tonight because he took his car for an MOT in sunny Wales and it failed the MOT on one tyre and the fucktards didn't have the tyre in stock. So the last time I spoke to him, he was sat on a bus on the way home and he wasn't fucking happy. So that's why he's not with us. And he said we can't postpone it for our wonderful listener. So wonderful listener, if you're there, we were going to do it tomorrow night, but he said, no, we cannot withhold this podcast from you any longer. We have to just get on with it. So here we are. Right then, people. Only a couple of games to talk about. First of all, it's Arsenal 1, Doncaster 0. For me, it was the game of the season. Well, it was the League Cup game of the season because we've only had one. Karl, lineups. What did you think to the lineup?
It was the lineup that you thought would happen. You knew there would be wholesale changes. It was one of the ones where they was never going to play a full strength squad, and neither would I expect them to, because if we go out the League Cup first sort of round, would anyone really moan? I think we'd probably moan about going out to the opposition we go out to, but not the teams. Not the fact that we went out to the League Cup. No one really cares. Ospina, you expected to start. You knew he was always going to start. Chambers, Mertesacker and Holding, those are the three almost now backup defenders, so you knew they were going to play. I've got a problem with playing players out of position, and he went there because we played the three at the back. We played obviously the fullbacks, and Nelson is not a fullback. Maitland-Niles is not a fullback, but yet still Arsene Wenger played him there, and it kind of exposed them a little bit, I think, because we should have scored much more than the one goal, or we obviously didn't. But the forward line with Alexis, Giroud and Walcott, you think they are all international players and we should have battered them. But obviously we didn't end up doing that, which is a bit of a shame because I thought they were going to be a hiding. I thought easily 4-0, but it wasn't meant to be. But it was a good team. It was a team that you thought could easily play in the Premier League against a low league opposition, obviously, but that team could easily start for a Premier League game.
Just looking at their goalkeeper, like you were saying with those front three, we should have hammered them. A couple of seasons ago, he was playing for the mighty Barnet in League Two, and you're not really doing much. I mean, it's on loan from Man City, so he was a half decent goalkeeper. He's only 22 years old. Is he on loan at Doncaster? No, it says he joined them in January, so not available the fee. So maybe it's a permanent deal. Looked pretty decent, didn't he, Simon? Are you on mute?
Yeah, I thought he looked. Oh, I'm just getting off mute. Yeah, no, I thought he looked right, actually. I mean, it was one of those games I always think where it's a bit like when England play Malta or someone bad like that, where if you smash them, it's like, oh, well, I was expected that, and then if you win 1-0, everyone sort of moans. But I think for us, we just coasted very much, and then it got a bit nervy, got a bit dodgy, and their keeper had a decent game. It was more, I think, us making him look better than he was than him turning a worldly performance. But it's one of those games that people won't really care about even in the day after. But considering the crowd, I think we did all right.
Yeah, he said that we made him look pretty good. Josh, give this one to you. We had 19 goal attempts off target and only 8 on target. What do you think the reason was for that? Would you put it down to ring rustiness of Theo playing, or the not fully fitness of Sanchez playing, or the who played up front for us, or Giroud just not being happy? He's got a touch of the Lacazette enviness.
Yeah. Oh, Josh, sorry. You carry on, mate. You carry on.
That's all right. Yeah, I've just got a feeling that the team overall that went out, they're all, trying to get their way into the first team. This is what these games are for, to try and prove their points that the likes of Giroud and Walcott should be pushing for first team places. Alexis just looked completely burnt out, I think, from start to finish. The kind of normal thing that we've seen from him, to be honest, recently, of where he's just incredibly selfish on the ball and just won't lay it off when needed. He's scored a couple that, have masked those issues that we've got with him. But overall, I think it was a case that there was times when we had the likes of El Nene having to shoot for him long, and because of the fact that Doncaster was so deep.
Simon, were you going to say something there?
No, I was just going to say the rust, I think, of Walcott was pretty evident. I mean, he doesn't seem like he's got going at all this season. And the other thing I was going to say is that him, Giroud and Sanchez, I don't think have played together in a three, more than a handful of times. And they just looked, more than anything else, it didn't look like they're on the same wavelength, Matheson. And with Sanchez, I think he's just trying so hard at the moment. We'll come on to it in the West Brom game, but he seems just hell-bent on doing everything himself, more so than he even was last season, where he just wants the ball, wants to shoot, wants to dribble, wants to cross, instead of actually playing as a team.
Yeah, I suppose. That's a good point. Karl, Jack Wilshere, what do you think?
I'm a fan. I am a fan of Jack Wilshere. If he could stay fit, he would be great for us. But the problem is, again, him staying fit. I know people don't think he's injury prone. I love you, Dom. But, when the person hasn't played a full season ever, not just once, he's never played a full season, you have to question whether he's injury prone. And unfortunately, he is. When he comes on the pitch, people think he didn't have a good game. I thought he did. I thought he had quite a good game, because he does the things that you want a midfielder to do, to drive forward from deep. Yeah, there are times that he holds onto the ball too much, and that's what causes his injuries, unfortunately. And no one wants that. But for me, I'm a fan of Jack Wilshere. And if he can stay fit, I would easily give him another contract for next year.
But with him being on, I think it's 85 or 90 grand a year, would you offer him that? Do you think he'd take less than that and be just a squad player rather than being one of the highest earners with the potential of being one of the best players in the team?
Unfortunately, he must know by now that he's not where he used to be England's star boy. Everyone was Jack Wilshere, the future of England. He knows now that his star's obviously a bit dim now. And the fact that you went to Bournemouth last season on loan, where if you was the great Jack Wilshere, you could have gone to any team in the Premier League and no one came in for you apart from Bournemouth, that should say a lot and that should show a lot. So unfortunately, I would try and offer him a pay cut. Would he take it? I don't know, but you got to think to yourself, would he go elsewhere and get more money? It's highly unlikely.
And the fact that he'd be on a free transfer, he might get decent money, but I think you're right. Did anyone just see that free kick Liverpool have let in?
Yeah, I did.
Hello.
Beautiful goal.
Josh, what's your thoughts on Wilshere, and who do you think came out of that game looking good?
Jack Wilshere is he's almost becoming a bit of an enigma now. Personally, I'm happy he's still with us, but I wouldn't have been that bothered if he'd left in the window. I think it was today or maybe yesterday, Yuri Tielemans at Monaco said if it wasn't for Arsenal's depth in midfield, he would have come across. And he's certainly a young player that I would have had in the team over Jack Wilshere. So there are options out there that can come in and be an improvement, a more reliable improvement in terms of fitness. But when he came on, he was the perfect player to kind of be second fiddle to Xhaka. If Xhaka's injured, then Wilshere has shown that in that pairing with El Nene, they do look like basically a step down of the Rambo-Xhaka partnership that we've got in the first team at the moment. I think overall, for players that came out of it well, I'm not sure no one blew me away with their performances. Let's put it that way. I think Nelson being out on the wing didn't really help himself there. The likes of Chambers was just getting minutes into his legs after coming back. I did like Josh Da Silva, who came on in the second half. He looked like a promising player to play that kind of left centre-back position. But I think overall, I wasn't overly impressed by any player in particular.
Oh, you're a harsh critic. Simon, thoughts on Wilshere, and who do you think Sean? I'll ask you again, Carl, who you thought of Sean as well after.
I think with Jack, it's such a thing with our fan base that we want him to do so well, so badly, because, he's an Arsenal fan. He's been with the club since he was, 8, 9 years old. And I think everyone would love nothing more, Arsene Wenger included, for Jack to be, a key player for us like he was, 5, 6 years ago, and playing against Barcelona and bossing them. For me, I thought he was great against Doncaster, but, it's Doncaster at home. If you can't be good against them, then I'm not sure what you're doing in the Arsenal team. But I would give him until January, I think, simply because we'll have League Cup games, we'll have all the Europa League games, which is you'll probably have about 8 games or so in total to prove his fitness, his quality. And I think if we see enough in those 8 games, I think we could go to him with probably maybe slightly reduced terms, not massively, but, near a sort of 70 grand a week, we'll sort of cockle hands on and say, look, we'll give you a 2, maybe 3-year deal on this wage. You can stay at the club. You've proven you can probably fight for a place. At the moment, you're not in it, but we think you've got enough to stay. If he says, no, I want to go, which I think Wenger said before, he's willing to let Jack decide. If he's played well enough for us to try and offer him a deal in January, I think we'd get a bit of money for him. We could probably get, 6-7 million. Roy Hodgson at Palace would probably definitely take him, considering he took him to the Euros when he'd barely played any minutes, and Hodgson's a huge fan of him. I think someone like West Ham might do, and other clubs who are sort of panicking in that January time might take a punt on someone like Wilshere if they think it might keep them up. So I'd give him until January, make a decision then if you're going to keep him. If not, try and get a bit of money for him or get him to sign that new deal, because as a squad player, I think he's definitely got value for us. Whether he can ever get back to being a starter, I don't know. And it's going to be Jack's decision whether he wants to be a squad player at Arsenal with the club he supports, or whether he thinks he needs to drop down a bit and play week in, week out. So for me, January will be the moment we decide what we do with Jack.
And who shone for you, if anyone?
And in terms of who shone, other than Jack, it was pretty limited. I thought El Nene looked okay, but he looks better later on in the week. But he's, for me, is growing into that midfield position, and he's moving above Jack really there. Nelson and Maitland-Niles are okay at wing back, and De Silva, he obviously got 45 minutes for Chambers, I thought looked promising. But other than them, there wasn't anyone who really stood out for me. Before, I thought when Walcott was starting, I thought this is absolute fill your boots time for him, but didn't really get going. But Jack was a standout, I think.
Karl, who stood out for you in the game?
I think like Simon, I think only Jack Wilshere was the standout person. I just think if maybe Nelson was playing in a more advanced position, then he may have done it himself. But I just don't think he's a wing back. And again, the same square peg, round holes debate comes into it, because I know people say, he's got to learn his trade, and there was no better team to do it against probably Doncaster at home. But I just think that players in the right position, and you'll see players play well. And if he had done that, then you would have seen maybe a different Nelson, but it never happened. But as for people who stood out, probably only Wilshere, no one else really.
I think that had a lot to do with the formation. I looked at Doncaster's last game when they played a kind of 4-4-2. I think that's what it was. I said this on the radio show, and this game they played a 5-4-1. So that's why I think it made it so hard. Everyone was hoping it would be another maybe a Reading game, a 7-4 game, and Walcott will get 4 or 5. But while I got it, Cole, is this Walcott's future at Arsenal going to be League Cup and Europa League games?
It's showing its level. For me, Theo Walcott is not an Arsenal player. I think when he held the club to ransom and we paid him 140,000 a week, I think it's ridiculous. I really do. I just don't think. I'm not a Theo Walcott fan. I think the fact that it took him over 10 years to score 100 goals for Arsenal, and that's an average of 10 goals a season. To put into context, I know he's had injuries and things like that, but he's had opportunities. He's been playing for Arsenal since he was 16 years old. So it's not like he hasn't had opportunities. He has. I just think that he's, apart from pace, I can't see what else Theo Walcott has. We talk about, has he got a footballing brain? And we say, when he doesn't think, that's when he scores. That's not, you don't want that to happen. You want a footballer to think, because you want him to know when to pick the right pass, when to run, when to stop, when to run left, when to run right. And he doesn't do that. Theo Walcott is almost a one-trick pony. He just runs in a straight line, Whenever he's got the ball, he doesn't do any flicks or tricks on the ball. He just runs in a straight line. So his contract's got to be renewed soon. I'm sure it's in the next 2 years. Would you be happy in giving Theo Walcott 150, 160 a year? I wouldn't. So maybe next season we've got to cut our losses and sell him and, you know, get him off the wage bill and try and get someone else that's better. I think the problem is that he's English. So, and we need obviously English players in our team. So is that going to influence Arsene Wenger or another's decision in whether we sign him or not? We don't know this yet.
That's very true. Josh, Karl was just listing all the things that we require from a decent striker. Talk about Theo's goal and the ball from Sanchez in the way that, well, I'll leave you to, if you can wax lyrical about it, because I think it was a hell of a pass, great control and great score, great ball, great goal. Oh, the ball was quite nice, actually, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I would disagree with Karl. I really like Theo Walcott.
You're horrible. You hate Jack Wilshere and you love Theo Walcott. What are you doing here?
Theo Walcott is on a similar projection with goals per appearances as Freddie Ljungberg, and we absolutely love Freddie. So nice, I don't know, similar kind of position that he plays in. I think Theo isn't helped by the system we play in, but in terms of his goal, fantastic ball over to Alexis, and the control from Theo to then just knock it up and over the onrushing goalkeeper was the kind of finish that we've seen from Theo when he's not given too much time to kind of think about it, and he'll put in that instinctive finish. He is an instinctive finisher. He's not perhaps the one that we've hoped for, but for a winger, I think that his return in terms of goals is almost expected when you look at the likes of maybe an Eden Hazard for what they return in a season. Take out his penalties, because Theo doesn't take penalties for us, but his return's very similar to someone like that, and he's just not all tricks. So he's not a hugely flair player, but I think overall, if we move to more of a 3 up front with wide players, then Theo Walcott will happily come back into this team and he would start for me on the right wing.
Oh dear. Simon, we're gonna and one more minute, and then we'll have done 20 minutes on this, which is about 19 more minutes than anyone really wanted. What is it? The lowest ever attendance at the Ashburton Grove, which they were making a big deal about in the media, but it was still higher than Chelsea's attendance on the night. And so you want to talk a little bit about that and maybe what you thought about Theo's goal? Do you agree that Theo has a future at the club like Josh? Nearly called you Ross then.
It's a difficult one with Theo, simply because of his wage. It's a bit like Jack, where I can't see us giving him the same money as he's on. I think he's on over 100 grand a week now, isn't he? Or near one of the top earners, because there was that big 110 to 140. There was that big debate, wasn't it, when we were desperately trying to get him to sign a few years back. So I can't see him getting that same wage. And this, I mean, he's in 28, 29 now. This will probably be his last big deal. So it's for him whether he thinks, I'll let it run down. I think 2019 he expires. He might think, right, I'll let it run down to then, and then I'll get, my last big contract somewhere else. Because I don't think we'd give him that money. But again, I think he's a player I'd happily have in the squad. I know people aren't a huge fan of Walcott, but as a squad player and for not always starting, I think we'd struggle to get someone better than him. You know what you're going to get. He works very hard. Despite what people think, he's quite a big person in that dressing room. He's been at the club for over 10 years. He's liked by a lot of people at the club. So I don't think they would have a massive issue of keeping him there. It's just whether he, again, like Jack, will accept not being a first-team player. Because for me, Lacazette, Ozil, Sanchez are all ahead of him. I'd probably pick Welbeck ahead of him, and I'd pick Giroud ahead of him if it was a central striker. So he's almost 6th choice there. And in terms of the attendance, well, like if it's what was the attendance figure in the end?
44 something, I think.
I mean, I still think that's pretty good for Doncaster in the League Cup on a Wednesday night. I think that's a bloody good attendance. Arsenal themselves couldn't have done much more. I think it was 10 quid for an adult, 5 quid for kids. And to get 44,000 now, I think is pretty good. I always marvel when England gets sort of 70,000 from like Malta and Slovenia and these sort of games. So the fact they've still got 44,000 there. I mean, Spurs were at Wembley and they had 23,000, 24,000.
But with Spurs, I know, like we would say, there's 44,000 tickets sold, but whether there's 44,000 people there is something that is always quite controversial, because people say, well, they've sold the tickets, but there's nobody there.
Yeah,
But is that how it works at Wembley, or do they count it differently? Do they actually count real figures? Because I reckon there wasn't 44,000 people inside the stadium.
Yeah, I mean, Arsenal always do tickets sold no matter what the game is. But I think they probably still had, a good 35,000 in there. And I think that's just the way it is with League Cup games and with Arsenal at the moment. And unless you're absolutely flying like we were, a few seasons back, these sort of games, you're going to get lower attendances. And we even saw it a bit with the West Brom game. So, I mean, the only solution for me is if we just ring up Cologne every week and see if we can get a few of them just to fill up the spaces. Otherwise, we're a bit screwed, I think.
Josh has just put £20 for upper tier and £10 for lower tier. If that's wrong, blame Josh.
Oh, that sounds about right, to be fair. That's not terrible, I think. £10 for a ticket is pretty good.
Before we move on to the West Brom game, Karl, anything you want to add to this?
No, it was a game we was always going to win. I think if we had lost the game, then there would have been trouble, most definitely. But let's face it was a game we was always going to win. Whether we won it by 5 goals or 1 goal, it makes no difference as long as we're into the next round and onwards to Norwich.
Lovely jubbly, and hopefully Wilshere will play and recreate that goal that he got at the end of the 14-15 or 15-16 season. Oh, what a goal that was. Team goal of the season. Again, they did put it up for the vote, and Arsenal fans win every vote, don't you, Arsenal fans?
I mean, Walcott's got a pie named after him at Piebury Corner, so if he's not an Arsenal legend for that, then...
Is there nothing in it? It's just crust.
I think he's like some sort of spicy jerk chicken one, from memory.
And if people are going down to the game, make sure you go into Piebury Corner, mention a Bergkamp Wonderland, and you'll get your 0% family discount. And they might even look at you oddly, as in, what the fuck are you on about? Right, I can get rid of that one off of my screen. Right, Josh, let's start with you for the West Brom game. Beat them 2-0, 2 magnificent goals from Mr. Lacazette, who is the future of all things Arsenal. Talk about the game. What do you think about the lineup and your overall thoughts of the game?
Yeah, I think the lineup, I think it was rumoured beforehand that we'd see Mesut Ozil joining that team, but I think he's still injured at the moment. He was on the bench. So starting with Rambo in that kind of second 10, I think you referred to it as, Danny.
That's trademarked, how dare you. Dual 10.
In the dual 10.
Don't you put your own spin on my dual 10 and call it a second 10? How dare you? I feel besmirched.
Get on with it. Around the trademarks. Anyway, it's the position he plays for Wales, and we had El Nene come in next to Xhaka. I think overall, we knew that West Brom were going to sit back, so trying to keep possession and turn the ball over, just keep the ball moving, was key for this game. And it came to the point where I think the start of the game, they were pretty solid. That's for West Brom, but Lacazette getting the initial goal off a free kick from Alexis Sanchez. There was a hell of a lot of fouls in this game. I think it averaged as West Brom committing a foul every 10 minutes.
17 to our 6.
Yeah. So it's absolutely outrageous. It was certainly a tactic deployed by Tony Pulis. So for him to come out after the game and say Alexis dived, I think probably didn't for a free kick that didn't actually cause any problems to them. But yeah, the case of Lacazette doing what I think we've missed, having that kind of fox in the box. So I think since probably Ian Wright, I wouldn't go with Franny Jeffers, but I think since Ian Wright that we've had someone in there that would follow the ball up and to get it after it comes off the bar, to put it past Ben Foster, who's had many a game at the Emirates where we've made him look absolutely world class. I think it was just nice to get that off our back before he put in one of those performances. And then I think it was a case of West Brom had to come out and attack us, really. I was kind of surprised that they didn't start with Rondon up front, someone to kind of give the centre-backs someone to deal with aerially. And they went with pace up front, which isn't really something you'd see from a Pulis team. But I think we come on to the Mustafi tackle. Should we call it on Rodriguez?
If you want, on my timeline for games just is rather than any other decent host, just put it in a proper timeline with chronological order. I just do whatever I can think of. So yeah, to go with it if you want.
Yeah. So the Rodriguez tackle, I think it was discussed on the radio show at length, with how Mustafi comes in and takes away Rodriguez's trailing leg. I think advantage is played when Rodriguez gets up and manages to get a shot away, which Czech manages to push onto the post. But I don't think it should have been called back for a penalty. I don't know what everyone else thinks about that. Because personally, for me, that the phase had finished from where the advantage was given.
I'll just quickly go to Simon and Karl. Do you think the penalty should have been pulled back for a penalty?
I think he's had the advantage by having the effort on goal, and I think it's almost one of those ones where he's been a little too honest. I thought it was really rash from Mustafi, and perhaps a little glimpse of why Wenger was trying to get rid of him in the summer.
It's not the first time he's done it, is it?
No, exactly. He can be a bit rash. He dives in a bit, and it was a stupid foul. And I think if Rodriguez gone down there, I think he's getting the penalty. It's one of those things where maybe the law needs to be changed, but then in that sense you get a double win because you get the shot, and if you miss it you get a penalty, which doesn't also seem right. The advantage is you get your shot, but I think it was, if he'd gone down, I think it's a penalty because Mustafi's rash there. He's dived in, and Rodriguez may be a little too honest there. Whether I can't imagine Pulis will have a word at him though, because he absolutely hates diving and he's fined his own players before for doing it. So. I don't think Pulis would have a go at him for not going down necessarily. Just a bit aggrieved at the referee for not giving it.
Yeah, Karl, what did you say about it on the radio show last night?
It's a stonewall penalty, and I always put my subjective hat on. And if that was against Arsenal, could you imagine the uproar that we would have been saying? Like, it would have been absolute carnage. 100% penalty. Mustafi was an idiot for diving in like that. Absolute idiot. For me,
do you remember the? Oh, sorry, Karl.
No, go on.
I was going to say, do you remember the Theo Walcott goal that he scored against Newcastle when he was wiped out in the box and did exactly that, but managed to put it in? It's the same situation. We've had it before as Arsenal fans, and I think we would have said at the time, because it was a couple of seasons ago now when Newcastle were in their last stint in the Premier League, that, if Theo hadn't put it in, would we have been clamouring for a penalty? Probably. But, we've given him the advantage, and that's what the striker's got. He's got a better chance from scoring from the spot. If he just stays on the floor, then fine. But I think the speed that Rodriguez gets
that's
up
what
at.
I think. So what better advantage is there from having a free shot on goal from 12 yards out? So I'm like I said, I'm just trying to be subjective right now. I don't care. I'm an Arsenal fan. They didn't get a penalty. Fuck you lot. But at the end of the day, the way I see it as, what better advantage can you have than having a free shot on goal from 12 yards out? That is the advantage, not the fact that they had another shot on goal. So, yes, I understand it was the next phase of the play. They had their advantage and they missed it. That's fine. But I'm just trying to look at it from a different point of view. That, for me, I would rather have the free shot on goal rather than have the next phase of play. That's what I would rather. I'm sure if you ask the 20 other league managers in the league, would they want the same thing? I'm sure probably 20 of them would say yes. Because the likelihood is you're going to score the penalty. That is the likelihood. I'm not saying it's always guaranteed, but you got more of a chance in scoring from the penalty spot than you have from open play. So, I mean, I'm just trying to think of what the referee's rationale was. And I get that he didn't do it and he's probably playing the advantage. He hasn't actually come out. They don't come out and explain the decisions, do they? But I'm just really trying to look at it from a different point of view. Now, if I was an Arsenal fan and it was again... Sorry, I am an Arsenal fan. Let me not say that again.
But cat's out the bag.
If it happened,
first you have a thinking hat and now you're an Arsenal fan.
I know. But if it happened, if the shoe was on the other foot, would I be unhappy? I would be. Because I would rather have the free shot on goal from the penalty spot than play the advantage.
Yeah, I think I kind of agree with that. Simon, the tickets are on general sale. As someone, you and Karl go to a lot of games, how often have you seen tickets on general sale for an Arsenal Premier League game?
Oh, I'm trying to think of when they were last on sale. And someone, I mean, certainly at the Emirates, it's very, very rare. I mean, it's obviously with League Cup, it happens a lot.
What does on general sale mean? You can just turn up and go and buy like in the old days?
Yes, I mean, normally with Arsenal, you have different tiers of membership scales. So you have sort of red members.
Which all the clone fans have.
Yeah, which is your basic sort of membership, which basically puts you on the system. You can buy tickets. You then have, I think it goes maybe bronze, silver, gold, and even platinum.
Silver. It's silver, red, silver, gold. Yeah, and platinum.
And so in that sort of sense, the higher membership you have, the earlier tickets go on sale to you until eventually they go on general sale. But obviously, very rarely for Premier League games you get them on on general sale, and even for the Europa League game against Cologne, there was the issue that might have been spoken about in the pod, I think, last time, where a lot of Cologne fans in Germany were paying the subscriptions fee to be Red members and then going on and buying tickets there. So, I mean, that is a very odd thing to see that for Arsenal. I'm guessing because it was a Monday night, because it was on TV, is why they're on general sale. Would I see it happening more going forward? I don't necessarily think so. I think you'll always predominantly see them go to the Red memberships, but as long as the tickets are sold, I don't really have an issue with it. The other guys might know a bit more in terms of when they've seen it happen before, but I can't really massively remember it happening.
Josh?
Certainly not this early in the season anyway.
I've got a feeling that one of the games went on general sale towards the end of last season. I thought it was Sunderland when we had all the protests about Wenger. I'm sure at that point there was one of those home games went on general sale. I probably imagine it would be Sunderland because it was on paper an awful game. I remember going to it 2 seasons ago and it being absolutely dire. But it's very, very rare occurrence. It's normally one of those midweek, towards the end of the season fixtures against a team a bit like a West Brom, where you're just, you know what you're going to see, a team that's going to stack up against Arsenal, and it's a case of watching them try and break it down. And at 8 o'clock in the evening for a kickoff, are you really going to want to watch a team slowly but surely break down a resolute 11-man defence?
Does any Premier League teams have just turn up on the day, pay you 20 quid to get in on the gate? No one does that anymore, do they?
I don't think so.
No, I mean, a lot of them have membership schemes, but some of them, they do go on general sale for some clubs. But
Man City generally a lot.
I mean, Man City a lot certainly for a lot for Champions League games, midweek games. Man City sometimes struggle, and even season tickets, and a lot of clubs will have some sort of membership scheme incentivized towards you going on. I know Chelsea, for example, have a membership scheme where you pay for it, and then you get reward points for the matches you go to, and then the more reward points you get to go to the bigger games because you've been to the other games. So that's a lot of the way the clubs try to do it, so that when the time, if you are a Watford fan and you've been to see 8 Watford games, then when the Arsenal tickets come out, you get first dibs. But you can still get them on general sale. Certainly for cup games, nearly any club you can get. You don't need to be a member.
Okay, who wants to talk about the referee? Oh, it's gone a bit quiet. Go on,
I said on the radio show, I didn't think he had the best game. He tried to let a lot of things go, with some of the fouls that West Brom were doing. You could have they were saying yesterday that he didn't want to send players off. Well, I can think of at least 2 players that should have got sent off yesterday. Definitely he was letting a lot of fouls go, but sometimes you have to punish people early so they stop fouling. So if he had gone there early, there's no point in just saying, oh yeah, let it go, and then booking someone because of the totting up process. I think a foul should be a foul. You shouldn't book someone just because they've done 3 fouls or 4 fouls. A foul should be a foul no matter what. I think Alexis, with the Alexis thing, I think he was very lucky to stay on the pitch. And I know the rule is do not put your hand on the referee. That is the rule. Do not do it. Because remember when Di Maria got sent off a couple of seasons ago when we played Man United, when he pulled back the referee. Now, if Alexis had got sent off for that, I don't think any of us could have had any complaints. He should not have put his hand on the referee, and the referee, rightly so, pulled over the captain, told Koscielny, have a word with him, calm him down. And in that sense, he gets ratings. But I just think that the referee had a poor game, from their penalty to some of the decisions that he made of the fouls, where he should have punished the West Brom players earlier, because they were just fouling us all over the pitch. And you could say some of them were smart fouls, some of them were just to break up our play a little bit. And, credit to you, do what you need to do. But I didn't think he had the best game yesterday.
How old do you reckon he was?
What, Bobby Badley?
Yeah.
In his 40s?
31, according to Soccerway. He's 16 years younger than me.
No way. Tough paper around growing up.
But just looking at the previous games that he'd refereed, Crystal Palace, Southampton, 6 yellow cards, Wolves, Millwall, 3 yellow and 1 red, and then Man City, Everton, beginning of the season, 5 yellows and 2 reds. So it's not like he doesn't want to give out things. Oh, Josh, what was your thoughts on the referee? Do you think he was a little bit of a twat? I was trying to think of a nice word, but I thought he was a bit of an arsehole. A bit camera happy.
Yeah, it was a bit weird. He was very card happy, but then not when it came to sending a player off, because I think there were a couple of incidents from what I saw in the game where there was a chance for West Brom players to be sent off. I think it was Craig Dawson, came in.
I thought that was going to be a second yellow, yeah.
Yeah, I was waiting for him to get sent off, but I don't know why it wasn't given. But I think the referees are kind of marked on how many cards they give out in a game to make sure it's consistent, so that one referee doesn't skew things for everyone. Yeah, I'm sure it is.
They want a tenner for every yellow card they give.
Like parking wardens.
Yeah, that's it. That's what I was thinking. They could have vests and jackets and have to have a stab vest.
Yeah, I think overall, I think he dealt well with West Brom, bearing in mind of how many fouls they committed in the game. But it is surprising to see 17 fouls committed and not a player to be sent off.
Simon, what did you think of it? You haven't talked about it yet, have you?
No, I think he got the penalty decision wrong, obviously. Pulis was livid with the Sanchez one, said he went down too easily.
He didn't.
Pulis was, if you can go on YouTube, you can find it, and you can watch his press conference afterwards, and
he wasn't happy.
In typical Pulis style, it's only sort of 2 minutes long, and it's done standing up.
He's never won at Arsenal, has he?
No, and he keeps saying he's not going to talk about the referee, and then he talks about the referee.
It was a blatant grabbed hold of his shirt and yanked him to the floor.
Yeah, for that one, that for me was the one on Sanchez. I don't think the ref got wrong, but I think the penalty, he's definitely got that wrong. And it's always difficult with that one where a team's giving away multiple fouls, because as soon as you start sending someone off, or you send someone off early, you just set a precedent where you're going to have to do that. So I can understand why he was reluctant to do that. But the penalty for me sort of marred his whole performance. And I don't know if the referee's list is out for this weekend, but it'd be interesting to see what game he's on him anyway.
Actually, I did have that. I think it's... I'll go back. And his next game is going to be Stoke Southampton. Good luck, Ross. That's going to be a hell of a boring game for him. So he's fourth official for that, and then he's fourth official for Newcastle Liverpool after that. He's been fourth official quite a few times. And see how he can be a first-class referee at 31. You can't really do anything at 31, apart from look back at the days when you had hair, which is probably why he's so grumpy.
Is he younger than Michael Oliver then?
Don't know. I know nothing
because he's
about
the
referees.
proper. He's the golden boy at the moment, isn't he?
He'll get all the World Cup and Champions League finals then, will he? Lovely stuff.
Yeah, I think so.
Where are we? So we've done the referee. Cryogenesis Wookie, or however you say. Kachuriak. I think I nearly had it.
Steve is going to be absolutely fuming at you at the moment.
You could just call him the Polish Coquelin.
Bloody hell. As you've piped up, Josh, what's your thoughts on him? Do you think that he could have done a job for us? Because I thought he looked like a fucking mentalist. Imagine him and Xhaka in midfield. They'd never both played the same game together after the first one, because one of them was going to be sent off every other week. I thought it was fantastic for someone who obviously wasn't used to the pace of the Premiership and didn't look fully fit either.
I don't know. I think looking at him, and I've seen him play as well for PSG when he did play, and Sevilla. I didn't rate him at all as a player, to be honest. I don't think he offers much more than Coquelin, to be honest. And in a defensive side that's built for him to succeed, he did have a good game. I think he put in a really nice pass for, I think it was Rondon near the 8 in the first half. So it wouldn't have been Rondon in the first half, but I do remember him putting in a decent through ball. But
for Kanu? No?
Yeah, it must have been.
I'm thinking he was played up front, because Kanu is not a striker, but keep playing him up front. I'm just looking, who else did they played up front?
Rodriguez and Kanu up front in the first half. But otherwise, I think he did play a really nice cross ball that he managed to inexplicably miss the chance. But otherwise, I think any defensive midfielder that's good at tackling and intercepting is always going to look good against Arsenal because of the way we play. And if they're on their game, it's the same with the goalkeeper, Foster. We've made him look absolutely incredible in games because our finishing hasn't been there. I thought it was exactly the same for Kachariak, that we play to his strengths, that he's always going to look good as a defensive player. But otherwise, we've got Coquelin. He will perfectly adequately, so long as we play to his strengths, do exactly the same job as Kucheriak would do for us.
So
and he's on less money.
Let me get this straight. You don't like Jack Wilshere, who everybody loves. You like Theo Walcott, that nobody likes, and you rate Coquelin over Kucheriak. Well,
Yes.
are you an invader from another team? I swear you're doing this to wind me up. Hey,
Josh is on crack. He has to be.
I wish.
Karl, what was your thoughts on the on the midfield? I mean, on him, would you think he could have done a job at Arsenal? I didn't even know Livermore was. Is that the old Spurs Livermore playing in the middle with him? I thought he was shit.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, but Gareth Barry. It's Arsenal did a really nice thing, didn't they? They gave him a shirt that said 633, I think it was, and everybody signed it. So I was really pleased because that was one less record anything to do with Man United, because that shitbag Giggs is no longer the record appearance holder for the Premier League.
Yeah, I think it was a very nice thing for Arsenal. That just shows the class of Arsenal. We are always going to be a classy club. It's what we do. Things like that, it's the reason why we are a gentleman club. I don't think any other team would have done that. We don't know, but it's a nice thing for us to do. And Gareth Barry I know we had a quick mention on him, but he's one of the nice guys in football. You've never been one of them guys who, he's been around for so long, you've never heard anyone really say a bad word about him. He's just done his job, gone about his business. He's played for a few clubs, and he's just been one of the nice guys in football, because you've never, even though he's played for teams like Man City, who we hate, but he played for them before, I think just when they got their new money. He was never, he's gone there for the money, or maybe he did, we just don't know. We never thought he was going to play, and he did play in centre mid for a while. But for someone who can get 633 appearances in the Premier League, that's brilliant. I really think that's a very good achievement to have. So well done, Gareth Barry.
And it's a player whose name I can say properly, which is always a good thing for me.
Going on to Kucheriak, yeah, he could have done a job in our midfield, definitely. Unlike Josh, I think he's a bit better than Francis Coquelin. I think more athletic. Although we don't know why he does this, we don't want Coquelin running up the field we're trying to win the ball high up. Yes, it probably is an instruction, but you think that he'd be smart enough to say, I know I'm not good enough to do that, so I'm now going to sit back and not do it. I do think he's a bit more athletic. I think he would offer us just a little bit more than Coquelin would. So I would have loved to have seen him in our midfield. He's not there at the moment, so there's no point crying over spilt milk. He did look good yesterday. I think he's probably a bit too good for West Brom, but we'll see as the season goes on whether he's, if he's going to adapt to the Premier League, because it just may be a tester. It may be Arsene Wenger may be looking at it thinking, right, if you can adapt to the Premier League next season, I may come in for you, because I don't think he's going to have a future at PSG.
I'm just looking at, I know it's not a Gareth Barry podcast, but he played 11 consecutive seasons at Villa, and after they bought him from your lot, Brighton. Josh, did you know he's at Brighton?
I didn't actually.
They signed him with some other lad, Delaney from Brighton, and it was a big hoo-ha because there was some compensation deal there. I can't remember what it was, but Brighton got pissed. They ended up paying good sort of 2.5-3 million quid for the pair of them, I think, when Villa got him. He's a Brighton lad, isn't he? Well, he's from down there anyway.
And then he played 4 seasons at Man City. Played 30 plus games for all 4 seasons. Then he had one on loan at Everton, and then it looks like he's never missed a bloody game. And
he also hasn't aged. Look at pictures of him at Villa and now. He hasn't aged at all. He looks exactly the same.
It's all those blood transfusions that the oligarchs are having that does that for him. Oh, never mind. Right, what other things have I got? Oh, young man, while I got you, Simon, a certain Kieran Gibbs, he looked pretty decent. He looks like a £25 million player, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think we'll buy him back in sort of January for 18-20 million quid.
How much did they pay for him? Was it 8?
I think 8 or 7 million, I think.
Fuck, we've been done again. He looked brilliant.
I think he's always been a good player, Gibbs. For me, he's always just lacked that bit of confidence or belief that when he's dropped out of the team, he's really struggled to get in it. And I think when Monreal came in, it was pretty much the end of him being that first choice. And when we got Kosalniak in this summer, it was clear Gibbs was going to go, wasn't it? But I think he's more than capable of playing in the Premier League for a good side like West Brom. And well, I remember when it went through on deadline day, a lot of people were saying £7 million for Gibbs is an absolute bargain, and it is, to be fair. But he had a year left in his contract. We weren't overly fussed about keeping it. Everyone knew that. So West Brom got lucky and got themselves a good deal. I mean, he could have gone to Watford, but the wages I think he wanted was sort of near 70, 80 grand, which is freed up for us. And obviously Watford couldn't pay that, but West Brom, with their owners, do have a bit of money. I mean, they're paying the whole of Krychowiak's 110 grand a week, his wages are. And West Brom are paying all of that this season. So they've got money to spend on that. And I'm happy to see Gibbs do well. He got a nice reception when he came out, didn't he? I mean, I think Krychowiak's a good player. I saw him last summer when I was at the Euros for I ended up seeing Poland about 2 or 3 times. And he was their best player. He was fantastic. Him and Kaputska, who's obviously not done great at Leicester, but the pair of them were fantastic. But I did always think, watching him, he's a bit slow. He's a bit lumbersome occasionally. And I worried for a big side, he would get caught out a bit in terms of his pace and speed. He reminded me a bit of Matic when I saw him at the Euros, that sort of type of player. I don't think a top 6 team is quite his level, but he's obviously gone to West Brom because he basically knows he'll play all year, and if Poland gets the World Cup, he'll be in the team for that. And he's basically got himself in the shop window for a year, hasn't he? So
where do you reckon he'll go? Any idea? I think he'll probably get snapped up by another mid-table Premier League team.
I mean, I don't think he's good enough for a top. If any of the top teams were going to get him, my guess would be someone like
Everton. They want everyone.
Yeah, or I was thinking Liverpool if Chan went to Juventus on a free, or I could see him at Liverpool. But again, he's not quite mobile enough for that sort of team. So perhaps maybe over to Germany, something like that. But his missus is from France anyway, so that was part of. I mean, Steve knows much more about this, being tuned into the Polish news or whatever. But I think she was part of the one who sort of helped him go to Paris, whatever. But I don't think he's good enough to play for us personally.
No. Well,
Chris
we're split on that.
Chris is probably crying in his bedroom, but not quite for me. I wouldn't pick him over Xhaka or Ramsey. So.
Poor old Chris hasn't had a good week. First his cat pukes on his sheets, then I fuck up his podcast by not recording it properly, and now you say that about
at least Lacazette scored. That's it.
Yes, that's bringing me on to my next point. Karl, Lacazette, is he the answer to the player we've wanted for the last since? Wow, how far back would you go to say he's the player that we've wanted? Is he a replace in a similar vein to Henry or Van Persie? Is he that kind of player? Is he the answer? That's what I want to know.
Well, he's doing well so far, isn't he? He hasn't let us down as of yet. He's someone that we've needed, not wanted, but needed for a while now. And as much as I love Olivier Giroud, Olivier Giroud is an absolutely brilliant player. I just don't think that the players we have in our squad, we don't play to his strengths. Olivier Giroud is very good in the box. He wants the ball played into his feet, or he wants the ball crossed into him. And Arsenal are not a team that will cross the ball that often. It's just something we don't do. We don't launch the ball into the box for him to sort of get onto the end to. And when you've got people like Alexis and like Ozil who can play brilliant passes over the top for you to run onto, that's what you want. You want a fast, pacey striker who can run onto brilliant passes from Ozil and Alexis and Xhaka. And Olivier Giroud wasn't that guy. And I'm not saying he's a bad player, because he's not. Olivier Giroud is not. But I think that Lacazette is just someone that we've needed for a while. Someone who has a bit of pace, someone who's with brilliant footwork, someone who reacts quick. Because his first goal, that was brilliant reaction. I think it was just absolutely class. He reacted faster than any of the defenders. And to think that West Brom are quite a defensive-minded team, and he reacted before, and he reacted before any of those players. That just shows how good he actually is. His footwork, I think his close control is absolutely brilliant, and he's got pace to burn. I know we're sort of we haven't seen Alexis, Ozil and Lacazette play together, maybe be putting a bit too much onto it, but I can't wait to see them three play together. If they're on their game and they all know what each other's doing, I think we will carve a lot of teams apart.
It's so tempting to get all of you to answer the same question, but if we do that, we're going to be here all night. So, Josh, Karl just mentioned the the triangle of excellence that would be Sanchez, Ozil, and Lacazette. Ramsey playing in that triangle rather than Ozil. Do you think this now legendary double 10, as the world is calling it, do you think he was better than Ozil, and do you think he's got a future playing in that position?
I thought we missed Ozil against Chelsea when we had Iwobi playing there. We were just missing that kind of world-class through ball that we know Mesut can play.
That's my own opinion.
That's very harsh. Very harsh on Mesut Ozil. Personally, I'd have Ozil, Rambo, and Lacazette up front. I would drop Alexis.
Oh, now you're just taking the piss.
I don't like
you
Alexis.
You can hear people booing you, and the listener booing you with your shenanigans. How can you say that? How could you drop Sanchez
Alexis
above a bloody Ozil who's done nothing for 4 years virtually? And I love Ozil. Go on, I'll shut up.
Ozil stopped us, or got us our first trophy in the FA Cup in 10 years. So I think it was nice that he stopped that for us.
I think you find that was Kieran Gibbs clearing off the line and Stoffels going 3-0 down. I think that's who won it. Then we sell him.
But Alexis, at the moment, I don't think offers us enough on the pitch. He needs to get back up to full fitness, but there's something about him at the moment. Either he's burnt out or he doesn't care anymore. I think it's the former rather than the latter. I think the constant summers he's had is just becoming so detrimental to his game that I think we might rue the chance that we didn't actually manage to sell him. I wouldn't have sold him to Man City, but if we could have sold him to a European side, then I would have happily have done it, because I think we proved, I think in the Chelsea game as well, where Alexis wasn't there either, that we can put a decent side together without both of those players. But I think overall we miss Ozil's through balls, and I'm sure Lacazette misses those through balls and just the general link up and build up play that we get from Ozil. Overall, as a collective, I think he's more important to the team than Alexis.
Bloody hell, Simon, do you agree with that? Drop Sanchez rather than Ozil?
I'd play both of them. I mean, I want to see that Ozil, Sanchez and Lacazette front three. I think everyone wants to see that. And when they're all three are fit, I'm sure we will see it. With Sanchez, I would have sold him in the summer personally, even to Man City for 60 million quid, simply because I'm always of the opinion if someone doesn't want to play for you, then just get rid of them. Because if someone doesn't want to play for Arsenal, we'll find someone else who does. But I think as a three, I think that could be a really, really good attacking trio. Simply because Lacazette, I spoke to this about when I saw Chris and Jason, Dom and Jeff and Neil a couple of weeks ago when we met up when Dom was over here. And I was so surprised by Lacazette when I've seen him play, because in my head I had him as this sort of poacher who just scored goals and played on the last man, but he's so much more than that. You know, he links the play much better. He pulls off his man. He wants to get involved. He can pick a pass. He can hold the ball up. And I just think when he's playing with Sanchez and Ozil, I think that'll be such a good combination. That's the formation I'd go for, I think. And if Sanchez is going to stay, right, let's flog him and get the most out of him and use him for the season.
Carl, I suppose you're wanting to have a word on that, aren't you? Because there's no way you would drop Sanchez for Ozil, is there? No,
I would not. Sanchez is our best player. He is, you know, as much as he doesn't, he's going to leave in the end of the season. We know this, and every Arsenal fan who's holding on to hope that he's going to stay, you know, don't do it. Don't do it to yourself. He's going to go. For me, he on his day, he's absolutely brilliant. On his day, he could be one of the worst players. But I think his brilliance outweighs the badness about him. For me, he can score from almost any situation, and I know he's got a laboured style, Ozil, and he comes across lazy, and we look at all his stats and it's all about running, and whereas I don't really agree with that at times, because you can run a lot, but what are you doing when you're running? What are you doing with the ball while you're running? While you run into the right places? So stats for me that in that sort of way lies. But for me, Sanchez, you can't drop him because he actually is that good, and he can turn a nothing into something. So for me, what are you doing, Danny?
I've had to swap is it making a noise?
Are you sucking through a straw or something?
No, this thing, if I mute it, then it makes a noise, and I put it in my other ear, and then I turned around to look at the laptop, and I thought, oh, fucking, I'm going to have to change ears again. So I'm going to swap ears again, and I'll make no noise. Go on.
Weirdo. So for me, you don't drop Sanchez because he's actually that good. So I think that you got to play your best players all the time, and like Simon alluded to, I can't wait as well to see the Ozil, Sanchez, and Lacazette sort of formation and see what they can do together.
I agree with that completely. Right, with no more audio nonsense from me. I put these earbuds in and then they make my ears itchy, so I took it out and I can't mute it. Schoolboy error, sorry people. Right, so how about the Simon, the Monreal clearance and the photo for me, which is one of my favourite ever Arsenal photos. I don't know who took that photo. Whoever took it should get some kind of award for it because you caught it perfectly sharp in the exact moment he cleared the ball. What a magnificent clearance.
Oh, it was absolutely fantastic clearance. I mean, I listened to the game initially on the radio, and then I watched it back today during the day. And on the radio, they were going absolutely nuts for it. I think it was Jonathan Pearce and Keown, and they were just both waxing lyrical about this clearance.
On Radio 5.
Yeah, on 5 Live.
I was listening to that before the game. I was like,
I've got to go and find this. So I went and found it. And originally, when I searched for it on Twitter, I saw the image. And it's, as you say, it's a fantastic photo with the sort of the Emirates in the background and Monreal looking like he's the Karate Kid. But it's that one that you can imagine people, buying that as a print and getting it framed because it's a fantastic photo, beautifully shot, as you say. And I thought Nacho had a really good game, actually. And I know we talk about him a lot on here, is how he is so underrated. But he really, really is. I mean, try and think back to what we paid for him. You've probably got a record of it, Danny. But I mean, it was probably no more than sort of 7 million pounds. I mean,
7.9 roughly.
I mean, that's a fantastic buy for what he is, and he's not a natural centre back. But in that back three, his work in terms of covering for other players is brilliant, and it was summed up by that clearance. I thought he had a great game last night, and he really is one of these unsung heroes, as he was, last season and the season before that. He dipped a little bit at points, but he now seems much more settled in that back three. Certainly with Kosalniak playing on the left on the side of him, it suits very well having him there, and that clearance was the icing on the cake, wasn't it?
Yeah, another one of those players that we got from Malaga after the experiment failed. We've got Santi just before that, and we bought him, Nacho, in the end of the January transfer window in 2013. I've got here 8.5 million, but we never really know, do you? And then how far do you adjust it for the fluctuation in currencies? Yeah. Right, so either Josh or Karl, do you want to say anything quickly about the clearance of the goal or the photo? You both went
I just really like Nacho. That's it.
I think he's slowly becoming one of our best players. He was it last season where he took a little dip. He wasn't playing that well, but
like I said, Gibbs, didn't we?
Yeah, like I said on a radio show, I think he's found his position now because he doesn't have to run up and down the wing as much playing centre back. So he was getting old and maybe his legs were getting tired. We just don't know. But at the moment, he's playing centre back where he doesn't have to run as much. He probably have to do more defensive work, definitely. But, he can save his legs. And as he's shown lately, he's got a quite quick pace. He's got a bit of pace about him. And when he was playing on the wing, maybe it's more to do with who was playing in front of him, because it's when we was playing Iwobi in front of him where he took a little dip where he was getting no protection. But I think at centre back, he's coming to his own. He's found a new position where he's very good at it, and he's just doing well. So long may it continue.
I've moaned a few times that I don't like him playing at centre defence. I'm not saying he's not a good defender. He's a very good defender. But I'd just much rather have someone big there. Like in the old days, Keown would occasionally play at right back, and I didn't like it. I wanted him to play at centre back. Right, so we go. So our penalty, was it a penalty? It was a shoulder barge by just a fat Mo Farah. Josh, what do you reckon?
Yeah, I think it was a penalty. It was a clumsy shoulder barge rather than what you would say is a perfectly executed one.
It wasn't an Arnautovic Debuchy, you mean?
Well, yeah, exactly.
Which is an assault.
But it was just a really clumsy challenge from Neom. But I think it was a penalty, to be honest. But because we've seen the Mustafi and Rodriguez incident not lead to a penalty, that you can see why it's up for discussion, because it's arguably less of a foul, if that's such a thing. But it's still fundamentally a foul.
Right. Right, Simon, two quick yes or no's. I forgot to ask, has Ramsey got a future in the double 10? And was that a penalty by Fat Mo Farah?
Yes.
Oh, lovely. Carl, I know you're going to say at least one yes.
Yes, no.
Which one are you saying no to?
The penalty. I think it was
You're with John.
very
John said
soft.
that.
I think it was very soft. I think if it was in the middle of the park, would that be a foul? Probably not. I genuinely don't think it would have been. I'm not complaining. Don't get me wrong. I'm not complaining whatsoever. But again, I will switch it. Had that have been someone like Koscielny on one of their players, I would be moaning as fuck. I'll be like, it's a man's game. Let them play. Do you know what I mean? It's a contact sport. So, I would have complaints about it. So I can't really justify not having complaints the other way. So, I'm happy we got the penalty, but I just think that, like I said, if that was in the centre circle, and two players were running for the ball, tussling, would the referee have given it as a penalty, as a foul? Probably not.
And what do we all think? Yes or go on?
I was going to say the difference between a properly executed shoulder barge and that one was he came in from behind as opposed to level with the man, and that's where it became clumsy, and that's what makes it a foul rather than being jostling together. He comes not straight through the back of him, but the shoulder barge comes from behind, and that's what makes it a foul.
I think he knew what he was doing, because I thought didn't expect him to go down as heavy as he did. Possibly.
I don't think he had a clue what he was doing, to be honest. He just came steaming in.
And then he took him off. And what do you all think to the Sanchez shirt pull penalty? Was it a penalty, Simon?
Probably, maybe not for me. Close though.
Well, probably, maybe not. So
I'd say no if I was. But Carl? It's a tough one.
Yeah. I see. That was more of a penalty than the other one, because was it last season where they were clamping down on shirt pulls, and wasn't it
make a big thing of it? Yeah.
Wasn't it Ryan Shawcross who got pulled up like the first game of the season or something like that? I can't remember. I'm sure it was him, but it's almost like that rule's almost fizzled out now, isn't it? So I don't know. Would I have been happy if that was a penalty? Yeah, of course I would have been. It should have been a penalty. He was pulling his shirt, and there was no need for him to do it, but it wasn't given ultimately, so it is what it is.
And Josh?
Kind of with Simon on this one. You can kind of see him give him, but it's been so long since we've seen a shirt pull given in the box for a penalty that I'm not surprised it wasn't given.
And I think it definitely was. You can't grab a player and physically grab him and pull him to the floor and expect to get away with it, especially when you're playing against us. Right, is there anything that I've missed? Because we've been going for this now for 1 hour and 5 minutes. I'm just going to relaunch my BT Sport because it went into not even standard quality. Any points that we've missed that we want to bring up? I'll take that as a no then, shall I?
No.
Bloody hell, the silence. Okay, we've got a couple of games coming up this week. We've got one on Thursday. Oh, that's what else we were going to talk about. The fact that the number of games we've got an 8 o'clock on a Monday, 6 o'clock on a Thursday, and then was it 1 o'clock on Sunday? We're playing again.
Yeah.
What is? Go on. Why you chirped up, Carl? What are they playing? Are they deliberately trying to ruin us?
I think it's wrong. I think there was no reason why we couldn't play on the Sunday and the Brighton Newcastle game could have been switched to Monday. No reason at all why that couldn't happen. And why can't we play late on a Sunday? I just think other teams, if you notice that other leagues, they always help their teams out when they're playing in Europe all the time. Real Madrid and Barcelona always get their games changed and they play early when they're about to play in Europe. It happens all the time. Other leagues always do it. But when it comes to England, they never do it. That was wrong. And I don't know. I know there's nothing that the club can do. I think they can protest, but what's the likelihood of them changing the game? Very unlikely. But when you look at on the grand scale of things, there's no reason why we couldn't have our game swapped with the Brighton Newcastle game, and we could have played on the Sunday. There was no reason for. I mean, like we alluded to, we was talking beforehand, maybe from Brighton to Newcastle, that's a hell of a journey. So maybe they were thinking about that. But when did the league ever thought about the supporters when think about them getting home or getting to the ground? They've never done it before. So I very much doubt they're going to start now.
Well, bit of good news. I've now found that if I click the microphone button on Skype, you can't hear me breathing or wiggling. Good. I've now got mute back. Josh, being our international man of mystery and knowing more about European football than is good for you, do the other leagues help their teams when they're playing in European competitions with the way they set up the fixtures? I'm sure they do.
Yeah, I know it's happened, as Karl alluded to, in La Liga. Bundesliga also do it as well. Not necessarily with the teams that they're up against, but they'll certainly help them out to schedule it appropriately. Personally, I wouldn't have moved the Brighton game, but the Sunday lunchtime fixture was free. Bearing in mind that I think it's we were looking at this pre-game, I think it's on the 30th. We say that we've got to go up to West Brom during the Christmas period. So we've got an equally arduous task for the away fixture for this. So I don't think there was too much of a problem of making West Brom fans come down for a Sunday lunchtime kickoff, to be honest. But yeah, it is what it is. And to be honest, with what's occurred in the Brighton game at the weekend, I think seeing them on Sunday won't cause us too many issues.
What occurred at the weekend?
So the only available striker for Brighton, I believe, has now been suspended for 3 games for what I would say was an accidental stamp on DeAndre Yedlin. So Brighton will go in without a striker.
When you said that, I had the uncontrollable urge to yodel. Is that wrong?
He's not
right,
Swiss. He's American, Yedlin. It's the ex-Spurs right back.
How dare you? Simon, been an international man of mystery when it comes to going to 1,000 different games all over the country. What's your experience of people moving games, and do you think it's a little bit out of order?
I agree with the fact that I find it odd it wasn't on the Sunday lunchtime. But Wenger spoke about it before and just said it's TV dictating it. It's not the Premier League. It's the TV rights holders, and for them, if they pay whatever it is, 3-4 billion pounds, and they want to have a game on a Monday night, then they'll have a game on a Monday night with Arsenal in it. So, in terms of this week, I don't think it will affect us too much. I wouldn't expect the whole squad to go to Borisov. I mean, I know when it was here in the UK, we rested about 7 first-team players who didn't train on the Wednesday and didn't play on the Thursday. So I expect they'll do the same in terms of not everyone will travel to Minsk for the match. And Brighton in the early kickoff, I saw Brighton play Leicester on second game of the season, and they looked very, very average. I think it'll be frustrating. Chris Hughton is a good manager. He sets his teams up very well. But I think in terms of a match Arsenal could have coming back from Eastern Europe, Brighton at home is about as good as you could get. Midday kickoff a bit odd. I think 4:00 might have been a bit better. But I think it's just TV dictating the way it is, and that is modern football, isn't it? I think we'd all prefer if everything was Saturday 3:00. So it's not the way, unfortunately.
To make it even worse, the Spuds are 3-0 up against the Cypriot. Is it Apollonia?
Yeah, Harry Kane hat-trick.
Is it a hat-trick?
Harry Kane, yeah.
He'll get a new pack of crayons for being a good boy.
He is fucking good, though, isn't he, unfortunately?
No, he's not. He's a shit horse. I've got my mate who's a Spurs fan harassing me on WhatsApp, telling me there's a ginger cat loose where I live. So tempted to go out and rescue it. Right, now then, should we do questions? Karl, have you got some ready for us?
I have indeed.
Go on then, over to you.
Like Daniel always says, thank you for asking them. Really, thank you very much. The first one comes from James Hewson. That's Big Jimmy V.
He's the one who I was getting in trouble with that woman today when I said she looked like Thingy Bob out of Harry Potter. That's all my fault. Sorry, James.
He says, actual question, who's our left-back options? And that's to Simon.
Well, in playing in the 3-5-2, it's Kosalniak and Monreal seems to be the other one. And I was slightly concerned there. I mean, we were going to touch on it, I think, in terms of the Europa League squad for that Barté game. The issue being, obviously, we used to play the Ox there, and I'm not saying he was a great left wing back, but at least what it did was you could rest Kosalniak and Monreal. Whereas now I feel if we're not going to play Kosalniak left wing back, we've got to play Monreal there. But of course, Monday night he played centre back. So I think the third choice there is Maitland-Niles, who I just don't think is a left wing back at all. And if we could get someone else in there as a young player, sort of 19, 20 years old. I mean, I really like Ryan Sessegnon at Fulham. I think he'd be a very difficult player to get. But if Monreal, which seems to be the case now, is going to be one of our third choice centre backs, I would quite like a left wing back to come in for those games when we don't play Kosalniak, because otherwise we're going to have this issue, and it'll be interesting to see what we do on Thursday night, where Monreal's got a shift out there to cover for Kosalniak, or Kosalniak just keeps playing. So we're a little bit light there, but we spoke about getting rid of Gibbs and us taking the money there. But Maitland-Niles as the left wing back option hasn't really convinced me. It certainly didn't against Doncaster.
Agreed. Could the same be said for right back? Because we haven't seen Debuchy this season so far. It doesn't look like he's got a future. So in the unfortunate event that Bellerin gets injured, who plays right wing back now that Oxlade-Chamberlain's left?
I mean, they do really, really like Reece Nelson. I know Jeff was saying it the other week. They do really fancy him. But I agree with you. I mean, would you want to play Nelson for, 10, 15 games? That would be a really interesting one, I think, if he went. I wonder if something like that happened, whether if Bellerin, touch wood and nothing's happened, but if Bellerin had a sort of 2-3 month injury, whether Wenger would be tempted to go, right, I'm going to play 4-2-3-1 and I'm going to play someone like Mustafi or Chambers at right back and change the system. Or whether even do you reckon Chambers could do right wing back? I mean, I remember seeing Chambers when I first started out working in journalism in sort of 2013-14, playing right back for Southampton, and he was absolutely fantastic. So, I mean, I'd be quite tempted to give him a little go there. But again, we're a bit like that. I think with Nelson, I'm much happier when we're playing these Europa League games, having Nelson at right wing back than I'm having Maitland-Niles at left wing back. But if Bellerin got injured, I'd look to play Chambers there or Mustafi and maybe go to a back four.
Well, Chambers played at right back for Middlesbrough last season. They started out as a back three, and then when they moved to a back four, then he was slotted in at right back, and he did pretty good. Yeah,
I think he's just low on confidence, Chambers. I think he's a very good player. And I think Holding's going through a similar thing at the moment where he just looks a little low on confidence. But in terms of talent, I think Chambers is a good enough player.
I was going to say Chambers never's really recovered from playing right back since the Montero
game. I remember
that. Where he got absolutely skinned. Personally, I play Maitland-Niles at right wing back because I think he's got the pace to recover. I think that's what we saw from an early Hector Bellerin. Wasn't great defensively, but if he did make a mistake, at least he's got the engine to get back. And I think we saw that against Doncaster a couple of times when the ball was over the top and it completely cut Mertesacker out, that we did have Maitland-Niles there to absolutely sprint back and clean up the danger, really. And I think, okay, that was only against Doncaster and their strikers aren't the most technical or prolific, but I think he is personally the best option for me at right wing back and Mustafi at right back.
No, I can't argue any of that. Is true. I think we do need, obviously, better defensive covers. I think that if in the unfortunate event that Bellerin does go, is Debuchy available? Does Wenger even trust him? Is he anywhere near the first team? Does anyone know where he is? I know he's played a few, I think, reserve team games, but barring that, we haven't really seen him at all, have we?
No. I don't even think he's played much in that.
Next question. This is from Kai Fletcher. That's Kai Fletcher 7 on Twitter. He says Santi is unlikely to play much this season, but if he makes a miraculous recovery, would you find a spot for him in a 3-4-3 or revert to a 4-2-3-1? And that's for you, Josh.
Sorry, what was the question?
Santi is unlikely to play much this season, but if he makes a recovery, would you find a spot for him in the 3-4-3 or would you revert to a 4-2-3-1?
I would, if Santi came back, I wouldn't change the system for him because we had that problem when he was fit anyway, that one injury and we have to completely change our system in order to deal with that. I would either look at playing Santi in that what was it, double number 10 position, or we look to revert to a 4-3-3 with kind of inverted triangle in the middle, and him cover for Xhaka at the kind of base of that pyramid or triangle. But I wouldn't try and build the squad around him again, because we've seen that we build a squad around unreliable players, and lo and behold, those unreliable players get injured.
So who would you take out the squad for Santi to play?
I wouldn't. If everybody's fit, Santi doesn't come into the team for me. I would keep Xhaka in that position to keep the momentum of the game going. Personally, but especially in the system we've got at the moment, I can't find a space for Santi. But to be honest, when have we had a moment when every single player in our squad's fit? So there probably will be a space for him.
Very, very true.
Danny, quick question. Year. It's 342 days he's been out now. They reckon it's another 6 weeks, and he got injured. Remember the good old days when we used to play in the Champions League? Got injured against Ludogorets, didn't he? I think, or just after that. Yeah, he came off after 57 minutes.
Who's this, Santi?
Mm.
I'm not sure if he's going to play again for Arsenal.
I was going to say, does anyone actually think that he will make it back this season?
I don't think he's going to play. His contract runs out at the end of this season, and I don't think he will play for us again, sadly.
He's 33 in the middle of December, and a player like him, when we first got him, he did rely on his pace when he played as was it a left winger that he played at, or was it a right winger? I can never remember, when he got like 13, 14 goals in his first season. I think he'll play for us again. I have faith in him. It's just it says here that he's got what sort of injury is it? It says an Achilles injury. Now we know that Koscielny's got an Achilles injury, hasn't he? And he's having daily work done on it. So maybe if it's something like that, Don would be the one to answer that. But I think we'll see him play again this season. I'm not saying that he'll come on and then go straight back off again. That might not happen, but yeah, I still hold out hope.
I mean, yeah, I truly hope he does play again, because he is a little magician, and like we say on this podcast, he's got the quietest feet in football. Can you imagine him and Lacazette sort of exchanging passes with their interplay? It would be absolutely brilliant. So, we hold out hope, but like Simon alluded to, I don't think we'll see him again this season. Unfortunately, I just can't see it. He had the setback, and you just think to yourself, is he going to have another setback or another one or another one? We hold on to hope, but I just can't see it, unfortunately. Another question. This is from Jonas82. That's Joe V82. What's wrong with Xhaka? Fantastic reader of the game, but he's so careless lately. Is this concerning, and do we have an internal solution? Danny, what do you think?
Wow, yeah, I know. He had a shocking game yesterday. A couple of times he just gave the ball. We were making a break, and we were shooting towards the right. I think that's probably the first half. He got the ball and just kicked it straight to one of their players. I mean, it wasn't maybe, 10, 15 yards, booted it straight at him. Missed a couple of important tackles, gave the ball away again in the second half, and I thought, oh man, you need to come off. I think I might have tweeted at the time, he needs to come off and get Jack on, even if it's just for the last half hour, because Jack's going to slow the pace of the game down a little bit. Jack has seemed to realise now, don't hold on. Like in the Doncaster game, something Karl meant to mention was at one point Jack was doing his usual running towards, and then the opposition goal. Two players came towards him, and I thought, oh, here we go, it's going to get triple X here. He passed the ball straight away, and I think he did that 2 or 3 times. I think he's learned, get rid of the ball. Don't wait until there's people trying to mow you down, because that's what they're going to do. So I'd like to have seen Jack come on, because Jack had a shocker. But there again, he's still only been at the club a year and been playing in the Premier League for a year. But I don't know what the problem with him is, and whether we've got someone who can play in that position. I know that that Josh Da Silva is a left-footed defensive midfielder, and he made his debut. I think it was his debut in the League Cup, and he played pretty well. But have we got anyone else to come up? I think that's our problem with this club at the moment. We don't have enough fit central midfielders that aren't in the same mould, like El Neni and Coquelin there, and maybe they're one type of midfielder, and then you've got Ramsey, who's another type, more of the attacker, and you've got Xhaka, who looks like he should be a defensive one, but he's not. He's just like a regular central midfielder. I mean, everyone can have their own opinions on what type of midfielders are what, but when we've got 3.5 midfielders, if you include Jack as a half midfielder, when you've got 3.5, there's not really any much backup in anyone with anyone, is there? Unless you start bringing in the kids. But when, like you were saying, one of you was saying earlier, when we do bring the kids in, they're not played in the right positions, are they? Like playing left wing when he's a right wing, or playing right back when he's a right midfielder. Yeah, I think because we got Coquelin and Santi. Yeah, I think we said it all summer, didn't we? We needed to bring in another central midfielder, and we didn't. And I think now we're one injury away from a disaster.
Do you think that Xhaka would play better if he played in a 3?
Yes.
Because that's what he played at Gladbach, and it just seems that he's not getting the protection that he needs playing in a 2.
Yeah, and I think also if you add into that 3, one would be Ramsey and the other one would be Coquelin or Wilshere or El Neni, then yes, because that'll free up Ramsey to play like a little bit like he does for Wales. That'll take because at the moment he seems to be the one that's trying to do the holding and the defending and the passing around. With El Neni last night, he was like a wasp in a jam jar, around the entire pitch for 90. Very impressive game from El Neni last night, I must say. But I think at times there's not enough definition of what his role is. When he plays with Ramsey, he's the more holding, and when he doesn't play with Ramsey and he plays with someone else, it's a mixture of everything. I don't think he's defined his own role yet. I'm completely not sure what his job at the club is, but I do think he's going to be brilliant because he's got lots of great attributes.
Okay, this one's to everyone, so just a quick answer. This is what I'm going to totally Danny up this name now. Eggsy Aggie Boy. I hope I said that right. Sorry if I haven't, but blame Danny if I haven't. Would you rather Arsenal finish outside the top 4 but win the Europa League, or finish in the top 4 but not without a trophy? So would you rather finish in the top 4 without a trophy, or finish outside the top 4 with the Europa League? That's to everyone. Josh?
I can't see any reason not to say win the Europa League, because it gets you in the Champions League and you've won a trophy. Seems like win-win, personally. So, yeah, that's what I'd go for.
Simon?
Yeah, 100% go for win the Europa League. And to be honest, even if we didn't get in the Champions League by winning the Europa League, I'd still rather win the Europa League, because we were in this competition, in this sport, to win trophies and have those great days. And I remember Dave coming on this podcast after we won the FA Cup, and sort of 2-3 weeks later, he's still an absolute high. And I just think if we went and won the Europa League, I mean, everyone goes, it's a second-rate competition, but to have that night when we win it and the celebrations and all that, and for me, there's nothing better than winning trophies. And then you remember winning trophies, you don't remember those seasons where you came fourth. So yeah, 100% the Europa League, and even if we didn't get Champions League from it.
And Danny?
Yeah, same as those two. I don't think maybe the person who sent the question in has remembered that you get into the Champions League qualifiers if you win the Europa League. And also, we've lost our last 3 European Cup finals in a row, and we have lost most of our European Cup finals. We've lost one Cup Winners' Cup, Champions League. I think we've lost one UEFA Cup, one Fairs Cup, a Cup Winners' Cup. So I think we've lost all but 2 of them. So it'd be nice. Plus, it's going to be Jack's going to get a load more games playing, because I think it's 15 games to get to the final. That's what Man United did last season. I think you get about 16 million pounds if you win it, which is not a scratch on what we'd get from the Champions League. And also it'd be nice because you're going to pay a load of different teams, and we'll actually get some more decent teams in it that drop out from the Champions League. Hopefully we'll get Spurs in our group, outside of the group stage with the 2-legged ones, and we can hammer them away and away.
Yeah, I have to agree with everyone here. I'd rather finish outside the top 4 and win a trophy, because ultimately, like Simon said, you're in this game to win trophies. Why would you compete for any competition without going in it to win it? So, yeah, of course, I'd rather win a trophy. Okay, got a bit of a silly question now, and this is from Tim Carey. That's Boston Gooner. That's Goonah. Tony Pulis, Jose Mourinho, and Ryan Shawcross. Marry, kill, or fuck. That's everyone.
You don't want to answer first.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Can I just kill myself?
Okay,
Is that an option?
answer the question. Out of those 3, let's change it up a little bit. Out of those 3, who was the one you hate the most? So Tony Pulis, Jose Mourinho, or Ryan Shawcross? Who do you hate the most?
Shawcross, definitely. I quite like Jose, and I quite like Tony.
I'd say Jose. I don't like him.
Yeah, I mean, more Jose, not necessarily for him as a person, but just the pain he's inflicted upon me as a fan for the number of times they've beaten us and finals and Chelsea matches and getting under Wenger's skin. And that is, for me, is with Jose. I mean, I respect him as a manager, he's fantastic, but just for the amount of pain he's caused us over the years. I mean, Shaw crosses that tackle, yeah, understandable. Few list those games, but I mean, the amount of damage Mourinho's done. I mean, when he came in 2004, he brought about the end of the Invincibles. So, got to be Jose.
Saying that, I would still marry him because he doesn't. He lives in a hotel at the moment, doesn't he? So he doesn't even get to see his wife. Perfect, win-win.
I mean, I hate Jose Mourinho. I really do, just because he is. He's just the. You know, when you see someone and if you had a rock, you just want to beat his face. Like, he's that sort of person. I think, saying like Simon said, he's caused so much.
You want to get Welsh justice on him.
Yeah, I do. He just caused so much pain on Arsenal. And lately, everything that comes out his mouth is also Arsenal related. He always has to refer back to Arsenal, especially when we made comments about Arsene Wenger saying things like, "Oh, if I was at, how has he still got a job from being at the club for 10 years and not win a trophy?" I mean, we all think it, but you don't need to say it. So I mean, concentrate on your own team. That's all we really want. So yeah, for me, it's Jose Mourinho. I mean, I hate Ryan Shawcross for what he done to Aaron Ramsey. I really, really do. And you know, I just think that when you do something like that to a player, you should get more. I think he got sent off, definitely, but it's only a 3-match ban, and it should have been so much more. It really, really should have. But ultimately, those are the rules of the game. You can't get banned twice, I don't think. Well, at least back then you couldn't have. But yeah, Jose Mourinho for me is just an absolute donut, and I hate him. And that is the end of the question. So over to you, Danny.
We do have one more question, which Fat Mike, who's been threatening to come round and have a bath with me when he visits the UK, from the Gunners in USA podcast. He says, this was quite a long message. He says, here it is. Given the fact that we've gone over 5 games, which is 462 minutes, without conceding a goal from inside 45 yards, that's an Americanism. I don't know why people consider which part of the field. Actually, an American said the danger zone. This bloke who does stats said from inside the danger zone. And I didn't realise that the 8-yard box, they called it the danger zone. Has anyone heard that before?
80-yard box?
No, it's a bit like the
Penalty
corridor of uncertainty. But I assume you're referring to the 6-yard box, not the 8-yard box.
Yeah. I was adding VAT onto that. But I don't know the penalty area. It's goalkeeper's area, isn't it? I don't fucking... Anyway, yeah, I'd never heard that. Box. 18.
And you do a football podcast, Danny.
Don't even know the basics. Offside? No idea. Anyway, he says, inside the 45 yards, can we safely start positioning our back three at the centre stripe? I've had a go at him about that, to give us more attacking options going forward. He says, I'm no tactical genius, but if that seems that would give us the edge. And I replied, does centre stripe mean halfway line? He says, yes, of course it does. I rely on you to translate to English for me. And then he put the middle of the field thingy, where they do the kickoff at the beginning of the game, where the whole team stands during PKs, you know, when the game ends and in a tie goes to overtime. And I just said, shut up. That was the last of it. So I think the gist of the question, Karl, is, should we shoot more? No, it's not should we shoot more. It's should we start pushing up with our defenders more, our centre-backs.
Why would you not play Peter Cech on the halfway line, like clearly, and then they're always going to be offside. Like,
not the halfway line, is it?
Oh yeah, the white stripe thing. Yeah. No, come on now. Arsenal not the best at defending at the best of times, so clearly we have to. Anything that helps us defend. I think playing a high line for us is not the best. We don't have the fastest of centre backs, although we have good people that recover quickly. I think our centre backs are not the best at recovery, and then even if you do, you got Mustafi just going to slide in on you no matter where you are on the pitch. So no, let's
keep doing Mustafi there.
But let's just
sliding in with his ginger beard, just like Shredder.
Exactly, kill the gingers. Sorry, Josh.
What?
I said sorry, Josh.
Doesn't matter.
Well, good thing I'm biting my tongue, because I would have got thrown off the podcast. What I was going to say.
No, Shredder made me an honorary black ginger. I'm sure he did. I'm in the club.
Honorary Jaffa cake.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for my card.
Who messaged today that Jaffa cakes have been made smaller? I saw that somewhere today. That whoever did it was fucking furious.
If you keep eating them, what happens is you get bigger, and then the Jaffa cakes
Tell
look
me
smaller
about
in
it.
your fat hands.
I know. I've got tiny
It's all
little
about
chump hands.
perspective. That's what it is.
Josh, while you're there, what do you reckon? Should we push up more?
No, it's quite nice having us be defensively solid. I don't want to change anything.
Sheets in 5, yeah.
Yeah, stick with what we're doing at the moment, because no doubt we'll push up high against a team that likes to play over the top, like Liverpool or something, and we'll get absolutely battered. But no, keep where we're at. Brighton for the weekend play with a lot of wing play, so keeping our distance from them is what we're going to need to do, to be honest.
With your beloved Brighton, could we realistically play one defender and still beat them because they don't have any strikers and they're not really good at scoring goals?
You probably need 2, because you've still got Pascal Gross there. But yeah, I don't expect to see anything more than probably a fabled 4-6-0 formation, because they literally have no strikers at the moment, with Hamed being suspended.
Oh dear. Simon, your thoughts on this? Should we defend more?
No, defend less, shoot more. No, I actually prefer us. I'm not trying to be an old, but I actually prefer us when we defend deep. And like in the FA Cup final, when we play Per at the back and play 2 quick players behind him, and almost have a mini sort of V defence with Per sitting the deepest and then 2 either side. So I don't actually like it when we push up. I think we get a bit exposed then. I think we're better when we just drop off, soak it up, and try and hit teams on the counter. So defend even deeper. That is my analysis.
Yeah.
So I was saying that question sounded a lot like one of Chris Carpenter's team talks.
Oh,
made no fucking sense.
Yeah, they lost again.
Did they?
Yeah, well, I'll just have a button now that I press it and it goes, they lost again. Yeah, I didn't even really say that. That's from 2 years ago.
I think they might be worse than Sunderland, and that's saying something.
Jeez, yeah, they're going to double relegation. Oh, I look forward to that. They're shit. And Birmingham, get out.
The protests will start soon, won't they? Pirate Fan TV always.
I'm talking about Sunderland double relegation. Okay, quick thing about the Batty. How do you say it? Batty Barisov. It sounds like something that Ali G would say.
Batty boy.
Batty boys. I've put here 6 p.m. Thursday in brackets Theo Day, which I think we can all agree he's found his level. It's Hleb's old team. He's played for them on 4 separate occasions, 1 before us and 3 times after. Apparently it's in Minsk, which is they've got a team called Dynamo Minsk. And it's a 3-hour flight from any London airport. It's 1,418 miles. And there you go. They're currently 3rd in their league. I think they're 2 points beyond the leaders. The last game, they won 6-0 at home. And Gordichuk scored 3 goals. He's now got 14 in 23 games. Karl, any thoughts about the Batty boys? And are we worried?
That's the Sunday fixture.
What did I say?
You said Batty boys.
Oi, you stop being mean about Brighton. How dare you? Karl was just about to go into full flow. Go on, Karl.
I was.
Go mad.
No, we should always be wary of when we go away. It's Arsenal. You can never. There's no such thing as an easy fixture with Arsenal. On paper, of course, we probably should win the game without a shadow of a doubt. It depends on what team we put out. Of course, we're not going to play our full team, and I don't expect us to either. But you know, you're going to have the likes of Theo Walcott. You're going to have the likes of Olivier Giroud, possibly Ozil. You know, it's not. You're talking about full-fledged internationals. You're talking about the person who starts for France. You're talking about Theo Walcott, who, you know, he may not be the best player on the pitch, but he's a full-fledged international player. So these people, you know, you're talking about a World Cup winner who Per Mertesacker, who will more than likely start. So it's not like we're going with a team for the kids. So on paper, we should win it, and it just depends on what Arsenal will turn up, to be honest.
Has anyone just seen that Porto goal?
Yeah, did I switch over to League 2?
Porto
live stream of Bergkamp Wonderland's training is amazing.
It's football pinball, everybody. There was another one that I saw on YouTube on Twitter where some bloke made 5 saves, one from his own player. In I think it might have been in a Dutch league or something like that at the weekend. It was up and down like a salmon. It was
Monaco playing a weakened team or something.
No, they have no players left. They're all at Man City.
Yeah, but they've been doing all right in League, haven't they? That's a feeder league, isn't it? So.
Yeah, it's only a matter of time until they will get fed to somewhere else. But Chris's team are no longer in the feeder league. They're in the feeder league because they got relegated.
They're feeding the feeder league.
It's like a school of fishies. While you've chirped up, Simon, what's your thoughts on the Batty Boys game?
I think it'll be a good test actually to see how we'll fare in Europe, because beating Cologne at home was never going to be too much of a challenge, but going away to these sort of obscure places, playing on a Thursday, weird kickoff, 6:00. I think it'd be a good test. I think we'll put out a similar sort of side to we had against Cologne.
Oh, that was going to be my next question.
Yeah,
Sure.
I mean, I'm not sure whether Sanchez will play, but I think
He's fit now, isn't he? There's no real
need. I mean, we were chatting about it in the WhatsApp group the other day, weren't we? And I think in the end, I had a team written down. I went for Ospina. This is what I would play and what I think they might play. I'd play Ospina, then I'd play Holding, Per, and Nacho as the three. Nelson right wing back, Jack and Iwobi, Maitland-Niles as the rest of the four in the midfield. Ozil and Walcott off Giroud, and that's what I'd do. I think whether it'll be quite that, I'm not sure. I know he wants to give Ozil minutes, but he might think it'd be better to leave him here and then give him 75-80 against Brighton on Sunday. But I think it'll be a really good test, actually. And I'm quite looking forward to a 6:00 kickoff. We'll be done by 8:00. Can catch up on Bake Off and all the other TV that we've missed tonight. So happy days.
Getting my ass out of bed. I might miss the first half.
Oh.
Who haven't I asked about this? I know it's either one of the other two. This game. Oh, go on him.
I think, really, I didn't know what else to add, to be honest.
I'll make something up.
I think it was covered. Most of it. Well, I imagine we'll probably win it about 10-0. There we go.
Oh, that's all right. Then they drew their last game. They drew 1-1. I think they've got.
I'm on a roll though, Danny. I'm on a roll. I got the result last week done. Red Star Belgrade, but it's not spelt like that.
No, they've got CRVENAZVEZ. I think I won the last game of Scrabble by cheating and using that. Bloody, that's a 400-pointer. As you put it down at the beginning, the game's over to start again. Are they any good?
I think their fans are probably they're the interesting ones. Yeah. If they bring 10,000 fans to London, it'll burn down. I'm sure of it.
They have a Frimpong playing for them, but it's not our old Frimpong. It's Abraham Frimpong. Is a feeder league Frimpong. So yes, it's going to be an interesting game. Right, while we're talking about the games, we've a prediction from you all. Going to go Simon, Josh, then Karl for the Batty Boys game. I've gone 2-1 Giroud because I think they're a half decent side. Simon,
is this for the Batty game?
Yeah.
I'm going to go for... I might have to change this if the team doesn't pick. I'm going to go for 3-0 to Arsenal and Iwobi to get the goal, the first goal.
That would be nice to see Iwobi on the score sheet. Josh?
Yeah, as I said, I'm on a roll from yesterday, so I'm going to go with 4-0 Maitland-Niles. First goal scorer.
Now you're pushing your luck. It's like you've been out to a pub, pulled a half-decent bird, and next week you go back and look for the best-looking bird in the pub. You're resting on your laurels. And yeah, because you got 2-0 and Lacazette, and I think two other people got that as well. Apart from OG, who complained that the second Lacazette goal shouldn't have counted because then he'd have got a perfect result. Karl, prediction?
I'll probably change it, but I will go 2-1 Walcott.
Oh, lovely. And yeah, also when Karl sends me his predictions every game, he always asks me how I am. And I very rarely reply with anything other than maybe an emoji. That's what I do. I send people emojis. And no one has asked me, why have you sent me an emoji of someone skiing? All Klopp's going off on one. Poor old boy. Right, next game. On Sunday, I think it's a 1 p.m. kickoff. Again, I'll get up for the last 5 minutes. Away at Brighton, I'm going 3-0. Lacazette. Simon?
We're away to Brighton or we're at home?
Away.
At home.
No, we're not. We're at home.
At home.
Are we?
Play away to the Brighton in March.
At home. I think it'll be...
I'm changing mine to 4-0 then.
2-0 Lacazette.
Did you not hear a word that Josh said? They're shit. And they've got no strikers.
They are shit, but they are very... Chris Hughton's gets his teams very organised. I think it'll be a frustrating game. I think it'll be a bit like the West Brom game. I don't think they'll score, but I think it won't be the riot that we're all predicting.
So who did you say your score was going to be?
2-0 Lacazette to get the first goal.
Okay. Josh, this is going to be a hard game for you.
I'm going to go with 3-0 Lacazette to Arsenal, just to confirm.
Unless they sign Lacazette without telling anyone.
Exactly.
Carl.
See, I was going to go 3-0 Lacazette, so now I'm going to have to change it and go 3... It's Arsenal, so you can never tell, but I will go 3-0 Alexis.
Oh, yes. A beautiful goal that will be. Right, how long have we been going? It's 1 hour and 43 minutes. Excellent, just in time for our gentleman's nod. So we'll start with you, Carl, because you were the last one to speak.
My gentleman's nod, I didn't really think about this, goes to everyone that follows me.
Well, both
I love you all.
Can't have two.
All two of them. No, I interact with all my followers and I love all of them. So interact with me. I'd always reply. If I don't agree with you, I'll still reply. You know, good. It was always good to have different opinions on Twitter. It's what makes Twitter interesting, to be honest. But just know that you're always wrong and I'm always right.
Yeah, excellent. Josh?
I'm going to shout out to someone that I've been talking to, part of our FIFA Pro Clubs team for Bergkamp Wonderland, Chris, at Lion in Purple. He's an Orlando City fan and also another American. And we've been chatting.
Just purple with a giant big lion's head on the front of it.
It is indeed.
And they got hammered by my boys, Portland, at the weekend, I think.
Yeah.
Did they?
I think so. But we've been chatting NFL for the past couple of weeks, much to everyone else's annoyance. The LA Rams.
Oh, good luck with that.
Are currently the top scoring team in NFL.
There's only been 2 games.
2-1. 3 games.
Dolphins have only played 2. We had the bye last week. Yeah,
you were rubbish.
Oh, no.
Against New York Jets.
20-0.
Against the worst team in the NFL. But that's all right, because the Rams are on the up, and I think they're going to have a very, very good season this season. So not everything Kroenke does is bad.
And you're not kidding.
I'm not kidding.
Good. Rams, kids. Oh, dear. I'll leave that one.
Oh, God.
Simon, who would you like to say hello to?
Just first and foremost, just a missing call for Colin the Wank Sock, because it's been years now and still not heard from him. No tweets from the account. So if anyone has seen Colin,
don't touch it. Touch it with a stick.
Please get in touch with the podcast. On a serious note, shout out to Dom, who our favourite Aussie, was over here a few weeks ago. Caught up with him and some of the other guys on the podcast. Very, very fun, enjoyable evening. Got to have a pint with Jason Davies, which is the first prize in any raffle. And also a shout to Pybury Corner, because yesterday, ahead of the West Brom game, Bob Wilson was down there, and they brought out the Bob Wilson pie, which is a Scotch pie, which a mate of mine sent me a pic of his, which was beef Scotch pie, horseradish mash and mincy peas with red wine gravy.
Because although Sir Bob is English, he had one cap for Scotland.
Yeah, right? And I think it is that. And so the Pybury Corner have teamed up with Willow Foundation, who Bob Wilson does a lot of work with, and the monies from those Bob Wilson pies will be going to the Willow Foundation charity. So if you do pop in there, get one of those pies, money goes to charity, all a good cause. So yeah, support that. And
I saw a picture on Twitter yesterday of Sophie having a picture taken with Sir Bob, and the man doesn't age.
No, and he's a
legendary player. Absolutely.
Legend. And he loves the club, doesn't he?
I've met him once. It was the game where where John Jensen scored, and I was sat in the car just outside Highbury, and he walked past, went, "Oi, Bob!" And he leant down, got in the passenger side of the car, shook my hand, and went, "Hello." I went, "Oh, I've met the original double goalkeeper. Magnificent."
He is a gent, and he's classic. He sums up Arsenal, I think.
Well, old school Arsenal, not modern Arsenal. He hasn't got enough tattoos or piercings. My hello is going to go to our friend Ellis. Sent me a video. He's in South Africa at the moment, and he showed me a video of him in a 4x4 being followed by some elephants, and he tried to convince me that the elephant knew who he was from the radio show and he wanted his autograph, and that the elephant was called Boris. So hello to Boris and to Ellis and Ellis's dad, and I think Ellis's missus has gone out there as well. So they're all having a lovely time, and they're coming back soon. And Dom has just landed back in Canada about an hour ago. So the ladies of Europe, you can unlock your doors, remove your chastity belts. You are now safe. And remember, if you do have kids, name them Dom, all of them. Hello, little thing there. He's in he's in Amsterdam now, is he, Ellis?
Yeah, he was just doing his stopover.
Oh, is he swimming the rest of the way? I would be surprised.
Well, I think if he gets high enough, he'll float the rest of the way.
Oh, I've been there once. I stayed at a hotel near Dam Square. I was there for 3 days and had about 5 hours sleep, and I ate lots of cake. Lovely cake. Right then, gentlemen, I think we have done this in 1 hour and 48 minutes. That's a fucking miracle. Well done. I just hope the recording has worked. And now that I've figured out how to use the mute. So, thank you very much for joining us, Simon.
Thank you for having me.
Jolly good. And Karl?
Again, thank you for inviting me on.
And sorry about yesterday, Josh. And you're about to go off and do another podcast straight after because you're a busy, busy man.
Yes, thank you, Danny, for last night. And are you doing the same again this evening?
I don't know. He hasn't asked me. I did say to him the first thing, Chris, if I record it, you have to get someone to do a backup record. But you know, Chris, he knows better and he never fucking listens to anybody. But Chris is back on, I think he's on Sunday. I think I might be on Sunday for the...
I think I'm on Sunday.
Are you?
Yeah,
I've got no
Jay
idea.
said I was on Sunday. I think Chris is back on Thursday.
Yeah, he is. He's on Thursday.
All right, so I'm on one of them. I don't know, because now I no longer have a life. I've done my job in life. It's gone. I've had it exorcised, exorcismed. Exercised? That's a horrible word. Never do exercise, people. That was a Bergkamp Wonderland podcast. Thank you very much for listening. Nano, you cheeky monkeys, and we will see you later. Say something funny.
Carpenter out.
Say something funny.
Lovely. Are you back, Karl?
Mm-hmm. Yep, I'm here.
Did you go and get food?
I did.
You cheeky monkey. What have you got? Is it sugar-based or meat-based? It's going to be one or the other.
It's actually a rice cake.
Oh,
I'm being good. I'm being good now, Danny.
I thought that, but those
Yeah,
things
but what's
are
on
full
it?
of carbs.
Nutella?
No,
Nutella and jam and cream.
nothing. It's an
Ferrero
unsweet
Rochers.
one. It's,
Full of carbs, though, Karl. They're not good for you.
I've been gym today, Dan. It's fine. I need carbs.
No, carbs are bad. They made me bald. Right then, 3, 2, 1. Yeah, something came into my mind right at the very end. Then I can't remember what it was. It went, "Oh, say this," and then it went,
"Keep your beard strong and your glasses trendy."
Was it keep your wank socks clean and your...
Oh, God.
"Oh, poor old Colin, he's missed."
What's the account? I can't find the account. I typed in Colin the wank sock.
I have it saved.
Now your history's ruined.
Probably, and all I've got is the last. I've got a tweet from Bergkamp Wonderland, 18th of January 2016. Has anyone any idea where the Twitter account for Gimli's Colin the wank sock is? And
It is. It's Gimli's, Gimlis.
Bro sock.
That's it.
Fucking hell.
What? How did he even come up with that? I've got a list here of all the parody accounts. We've got Pirate Fan TV, Arsenal Pirate, Jeff Pirate, Pirate Piers, Plymouth George, the Cap Claude, Mr. STD Pirate, Governor Pirate, Pirate Troops, Pirate Mo, Hillwood Pirate, Shite Scarf BPFC, Double D Pirate, Indie Chris, and Ginger Colin. That's a lot of bollocks.
You got Pirate Jeff as well. Or did you say that?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, that's the Pirate Jeff. No, I've got Jeff Pirate.
Oh, Jeff Pirate. I should know, to be honest.
Colin.
It's Jeff Parrott, you.
No, I'm saying nothing.
Colin's first ever tweet was on the 3rd of February 2015, and he just put, "I feel alone."
Crispy.
And then Gimli was talking to his own wank sock, said, "Where have you been all my life?" And the wank sock replied, going, "I live in a box now, I think."
Dear.
Who was his pet? Who was Collins' pair? That's the question. We want to know why Collins' a lone sock. What happened to the other sock?
I think Colin ran away because all that DNA inside him, he evolved and ran away.
Wow.
And Indy Chris, what a classic account that was.
Indy Chris.
One tweet, January 2015. Hello, Twitter. # my first tweet, and that was it because Raj said, "I lost the password."
What's the username for that one again?
INDIE Chris. Goonerette, based in Southwest. I always follow back with a smile and a shake of my booty. Meet me at the airport soon.
Oh wow! Oh, he's done 3 tweets. Must have done some replies. Oh, yeah. He tweeted Jason Davies, "Hello, handsome, and excuse me, you ain't bought me a drink yet." Oh God!
We're calling it the Great British Pod Off.
No, a Bake Off Wonderland.
A Bake Off Wonderland.
Oh, yes, there you go. I can spell that. Is Bake Off hyphenised or dashed?
Do what you like, Danny.
One word.
Yeah, but unless they listen to the beginning of the pod, which I'm not sure is going to be on there, a Bake Off Wonderland. Didn't we have a Sonogo Wonderland as well once?
Yeah.
Oh dear! My mum bought me a Danish thingy bob with pecans on top and this kind of caramel stuff on the inside. She left me 2 of them. I think she's fattened me up. Oh, I've not had any dinner yet.
The signature was all trifles, so I was quite happy with that because I don't like trifle.
Yeah, I'm not a fan. But next week's pie week. Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh, bloody
love a pie.
So do I.
I had a pie on.
You have to make them gluten-free, otherwise.
I had a pie yesterday.
What did you have?
I had a chicken, ham, and leek pie, mash and gravy.
Did I tell you my pie story?
No, what was it?
With all around East Anglia, they all speak a little bit like this there in my old booty boo. So we went to the pie shop in town, and I said, "Last week I had a chicken and mushroom pie. It's lovely. What other meat ones have you got?" And then the bloke behind went, "They do a lovely steak and owl, mate." And I looked at him, I went, "Oh, no, they don't." And the woman went, "Yeah, we do." I said, "Well, no, you can't." He said, "It's illegal." She went, "Why?" I said, "We do." And he went, "Yes, mate, I had one last week. It's absolutely smashing." I said, "Steak and owl pie?" And he went, "Yes, mate." I said to her, "Steak and owl. Owl is an endangered species."
Oh, fuck.
And the bloke went, "No, mate, ale." It's steak and ale.
I'm not sure
No
what's
one in the
worse
shop
there,
laughed
your
at me.
accent or your common sense.
I know.
It's not as bad as the time that me and Ginger Ken went to see Billy Connolly at Southend Pier, the Southend, and then we queuing up, and then they said the gist of the story was we were in the wrong one. There's 2 Southend places, and we were in the one for puppetry with the penis. That didn't go down well. We were the only men there.
I did hear that story. There was a big cycle ride, a bit like Ride London, a couple of months ago. There was one up in Birmingham at the weekend. There was a guy there from Alabama that thought that it was Birmingham, Alabama he'd booked on for his cycle race, and had to fly 3,000 miles over to come and compete. They said, "Oh, we'll give you a free free entry next year if you want it." And he said Birmingham was the best place he's ever been in England.
Well, it's the only place he's ever been.
I was going to say,
He's been to London and Edinburgh, so I don't know where he went to those 2 towns. But
Edinburgh's lovely.
Edinburgh's a lovely place.
Yeah.
London's a tour.
It depends which part of London he went to, but I've never been to Edinburgh.
Oh, it's lovely. I've been there. Drove there once. We were bored. We went, let's just drive to Scotland. So we all drove up there.
It's cold up north.
It was.
Was that when fuel was like 10p a litre and it was actually sustainable to drive up there?
Actually, it was 39p a litre because that was in 1993 when I first moved in here. I had my little black Renault Clio. 105 flat out. Yes, please.
Wow. I was 2.
Stop saying things like that. You're making me feel bad. First of all, you weren't born when... what did you say you weren't born?
Oh, no, Gareth Barry, when he left Brighton, I hadn't moved down to Brighton yet. I was still in the West Country.
Oh, what? I thought you were a Brighton boy.
Oh, I'm a Bristolian.
Huh?
I'm a Bristolian.
I love women with a
Wiltshire
Bristolian
boy.
accent. Hello there, you dirty bastard. Want to see my boobs? There's this thing on BBC Three. Two women go on the run, and they're both from Bristol. And they have to go into, when they give you a new name, you go under
Witness protection.
That's it. It's something. It's based on that, and it's English. Oh, they're dirty bitches. Them do are. Fuck that out completely. It's like
they wouldn't get anywhere with their accent. You'd be like, "Oh, where are you from?" And I'd be like, "Oh, I'd be mad." Like, where are you from? From Scotland. You couldn't get away with it.
My Scottish accent is wonderful. My donkey's got fizz.
Have you heard Richard Herring's Scottish accent?
I do. I went to see Richard Herring in Cambridge this year.
Did you?
Yeah. There was only 30 of us there. It was about 6 foot from me the entire show. Yeah, it was all right.
I've just seen the Applewell Nicosia goalkeeper was called Boy Waterman. What a great name.
Is he Australian?
I don't know where he's from. Boy, I'm going to Google him.
Oh, wow.
He's Dutch.
Is he?
Yeah.
So it must have been high when they named him.
Boy Waterman.